Right, we have this particular integral to evaluate in front of us, and we proceed to evaluate this integral in a step-by-step fashion. A couple of things are very important, so we're going to first begin as follows. Right, we first let. So we first let capital letter I be the integral from 0 to pi of x over, right, 1 plus sine x dx. And what we then do at this point, we gonna proceed to make use of a certain property, right? And what is this property? Right, so we make use of the property. Let us state this property. The property states that the integral from a to b of f of x dx, this integral is from a to b of f of a plus b minus x dx. Okay, this is true, the true property of integrals, okay? And therefore now in view of our definite integrals, they actually use this property all the time. And therefore we have the following, that I becomes the integral, right, from 0 to pi of x over 1 plus sine x dx. We remember this, and therefore we proceed to use that property, and the property is that this integral here, wherever there is x, we put we sum, we add the two limits of integration, pi and 0, and we subtract x. We divide by 1 plus the sine of pi plus 0 minus x dx. Right, so in the end, then you have pi, which is the integral from 0 to pi of pi minus x, which is 1 plus the sine of pi minus x dx. Now in the end, then what we're then getting is as follows. Right, so it becomes therefore the integral of pi divided by, okay, let's first write pi minus x, and we have 1 plus. Now pi minus x is an angle in radians, which is in the second quadrant, in which the sign is positive, and therefore this is what we get. Okay, so we can distribute these things here. By distribution, we have pi equals, or rather I equals pi times the integral from 0 to pi of 1 over 1 plus sine x dx minus the integral from 0 to pi of x over 1 plus sine x dx. So we have this. And at this point, we continue to write this as pi times the integral here of 1 plus sine x dx. Okay, this part, this integral is I. Remember this integral as I. Now, if we move and transpose this minus I to the other side, it becomes then 2I. So that we have twice I, which is with the pi here, the integral from 0 to pi of 1 over 1 plus sine x dx. Right, we divide by 2, or we multiply by 1/2, both left and right, getting pi over 2 times the integral here of 1 plus the sine x dx. And now this is a very interesting integral, but very, very easy to evaluate. The integral of 1 over 1 plus sine x dx with the pi over 2 outside. So we proceed to evaluate that one, which is I equals pi over 2. The integral from 0 to pi, 1 over 1 plus sine x. We multiply by this here, but also this here dx. Okay, this is the integral from 0 to pi, 1 minus sine x, and we have 1 minus sine squared x dx, okay? The denominator becomes the difference of two squares like this. But 1 minus sine squared is a cosine squared, meaning that we have I equals pi over 2, the integral from 0 to pi of 1 minus sine x. In the denominator, we have cosine squared x dx, like this. And then now, this is very, very interesting because we have the integral from 0 to pi. We can sort of write this in the form 1 over cosine squared minus sine x over cosine squared dx. So now we have 0 to pi. So this here is 1 over cosine squared becomes the secant squared. And this is the same as sine x over cosine x, and is multiplied by this dx. I equals pi over 2, the integral from 0 to pi, like this. Okay. Sine over cosine is the tangent times the secant x dx. Okay, and this is then what? It's pi over 2. Now we perform integration. The integral of the secant is 10x. The integral of 10x sec x is the secant of x, like this. And so now this is pi over 2 into, okay, you substitute the limits of integration. So this is the tangent of pi, the secant of pi, minus the tangent of 0, the secant of 0. So you have pi over 2, then you have the tangent of pi. And the tangent of pi is 0. The secant of pi is minus 1. Okay? The tangent of 0 is 0, and the secant of 0 is 1. So this is exactly what? I equals pi over 2. And this negative negative is positive, which becomes 1. And this is negative negative, which is plus, which becomes a 1, which is pi over 2 times 2, which is equal to pi. And this means that I is equal to pi. Hence, the integral from 0 to pi of x over 1 plus sine x dx, this integral is pi, like this. And we have this here. And we have evaluated this integral. And this integral is pi. And we're done solving this particular problem in a step-by-step fashion. And it is exciting, therefore, to have solved this. And thanks, everybody, for your time and for watching. And goodbye to you.